Salt.
FDA's announcement that it will start proposing voluntary limits for salt in foods should be viewed with considerable alarm by all Americans. Our deal with the government states that we will support them by paying our taxes, and in turn, they will be responsive to our wishes and responsible for our needs. The last time I looked, I paid my taxes down to the last dollar, dime, nickel, and penny that the government asked for. But what about the government side of this contract? Did they live up to their side of the bargain? How about responsiveness to our wishes? Well, in 2011, the FDA asked the American public to provide an opinion on whether or not they should go ahead with voluntary restrictions on sodium or salt in foods. The FDA went through the whole process of publishing this call for public comments in the Federal Register and set a time limit of 3 months for these comments to be submitted to a specially established FDA website. By the end of 3 months, the comments submitted to that website totaled 9-1 against the FDA establishing voluntary industry reductions of sodium in foods. That's how you and I and the rest of the public responded. But the FDA didn't seem to be satisfied with this response, so they extended the comment period, presumably to get more people to agree with their proposed actions. Yet, by the end of the additional comment period, the responses were still 9-1 against the FDA setting voluntary limits on sodium in foods. You would think that would be the end of that. But you would be wrong. Now, 2 years later, the FDA announced its intention to do exactly what the public specifically asked it not to do. Now, how's that for responsive government? Why the heck did they ask us our opinion in the first place if they're going to totally ignore us? Is this some sort of game that bureaucrats like to play? Ask consumers their comments and then totally ignore them? The government by the people for the people? Give me a break. This is the worst kind of abuse you see in government. Jumped up bureaucrats thrilled by their sense of self-importance, totally ignoring the people they're supposed to be working for. Come on. Useless bureaucrats suffering from delusions of adequacy. So without any doubt, they failed us in the responsive side of our bargain. They completely ignored the majority of the public's response. Score? 0. How's about the responsibility side of the deal? Are they using the latest scientific evidence to look out for our health? Well, the FDA stated that they are following the suggestions of the 2010 Institute of Medicine report, Strategies to Reduce Sodium Intake in the United States. Obviously, they put a great deal of faith in the Institute of Medicine. But if that's the case, then there is a far more recent and comprehensive report from the Institute of Medicine, published in 2013, which states that there is no consistent evidence to support salt reduction in foods. That's right, no evidence to support salt reduction in foods. This was a CDC-sponsored IOM study, for goodness sake. It is the most recent report the IOM has published on the subject. In fact, the Institute of Medicine report stated that such a strategy would be downright risky for a portion of the population. Furthermore, the majority of scientific evidence that has come to light during the last 5 years confirms that reducing our current salt consumption down to the recommended levels would result in greater mortality. Doesn't the FDA have something useful to occupy themselves with other than developing policies that will do away with good-tasting foods and replace them with bland products designed to bamboozle our taste buds and may increase the risk to overall health. This is not a matter of politics, economics, or ideology. When the government ignores the latest science and decides to place more than 300 million of its citizens on an untested diet that holds more risk than benefit, it is a matter of science and law. You don't treat your people like lab rats. Someone has to be taken to task for treating the public with such disdain. So as far as the responsibility part of our bargain is concerned, the government gets zero. Again, 0 plus 0 equals 0. If you're interested in good food and maintaining good health, it's time for you to speak to your representative if you want to keep your family and friends safe.
SaltGuru.